Welcome to Biblical Christian Content, where we like to keep the content biblical. Let's go. As always, welcome to the channel. I really appreciate everyone tuning in. I have to petition everyone that's watching this video. If you desire to help me reach more people with biblical truth and for the algorithm to push me forward and put this content forward, then do me a favor. At minimum, hit the like and hit the subscribe to generate more push to get biblical Christian content to more hearts, more minds, and more souls. Thank you. Enjoy the video.
This, of course, leads to the potential for all sorts of misuse and abuse in the church. People claiming to speak for God, telling people they've received some sort of revelation from God, and then manipulating or coercing people to do things as a result. One of the most, I think, telling examples actually comes from the words of John Piper himself. Let me find that slide. Here it is. In an interview just at the end of last year, December of 2012, Piper told this story. He said, "A woman came to me while my wife was pregnant with my fourth child, and she said, 'I have a very hard prophecy for you.' I said, 'Okay.' She said, in fact, she wrote it down and gave it to me, 'Your wife is going to die in childbirth, and you're going to have a daughter.' Piper says, 'I went back to my study, I got down, and I just wept.' Then he goes on, 'And when we delivered our fourth boy, not girl, I gave a whoop,' which I always do, but this whoop was a little extra, because I knew as soon as the boy was born that this was not a true prophecy." So you can see, even in the personal experience of a respected evangelical leader like John Piper, the destructive effects that modern charismatic prophecy can have. He didn't know if it was a true prophecy or not until after his child was born. But biblically, if he had applied the standards of Deuteronomy, of the Old Testament, to how to discern a true prophecy from a false one, he could have known from the outset not to trust this woman's supposed revelation from God. So the charismatic version of prophecy then consists of supposed revelation that comes from God, which is then declared by a human prophet, but in such a way that the prophecy is full of errors, as this example illustrates, and is therefore not authoritative or binding, but can certainly have destructive effects in people's lives. But that's not at all how the Bible defines prophecy. Revelation that comes from God is authoritative. It is absolutely trustworthy. It must be obeyed. And if a revelation came from God, it will certainly come to pass. You can see then, when we start with the biblical criteria for evaluating the gift of prophecy, when we compare it, the biblical data, with the contemporary charismatic movement, the modern version quickly is exposed as not being the same thing. The words they're using are biblical words, but the practice is not the biblical practice. This is a quote that comes from the Strange Fire book, and I think it summarizes it nicely. Dr. MacArthur says, "The true prophetic office demanded 100% accuracy. Insofar as they declared new revelation from God to the church, New Testament prophets were held to that standard. To be sure, the proclamation and exposition of the prophetic word continues today through faithful preaching and teaching. In the same way that biblical prophets exhorted and admonished people to listen to divine revelation, so gifted preachers throughout all of church history have passionately encouraged their congregations to heed the word of the Lord. The key difference is that whereas biblical prophets receive new revelation directly from the Spirit of God, contemporary preachers are called to proclaim only that which the Spirit of God revealed in His Word. And then this is the point. The only legitimate way anyone can say, "Thus says the Lord," or "I've received a word from the Lord," is if the next words that follow come directly from the biblical text. Anything other than that is blasphemous presumption, and certainly not prophecy.